12 Ancient Teachings for a Peaceful Life. In life, sometimes just a word or a small gesture can influence success or failure. For centuries, our ancestors have passed down profound philosophies on interpersonal conduct, caution in speech, and resilience in the face of adversity. These teachings not only help us avoid regrettable mistakes, but also bring us peace, happiness, and a sustainable life. Successful people often share the same traits. They know how to control their emotions, remain humble, avoid boasting or complaining, and continuously work on self-improvement. These are not only admirable qualities, but also the foundation for building sincere and lasting relationships. So, why did the ancients place such importance on caution in words and actions? What helps one maintain dignity and inner peace amidst life's temptations? Please share your thoughts in the comments. And now, let's explore the timeless wisdom our ancestors left behind. Feel free to save this playlist for future reflection. The first story, The Power of Emotional Restraint. In a small village, there was a teacher named Min, well known for his calm demeanor and emotional restraint. One day, a neighbor named Tom, known for his quick temper, came to ask for Min's help in resolving a conflict with his nephew. Tam recounted the incident with a furious expression, his voice sharp with anger. "My nephew is so disrespectful. Whatever I say, he argues back. All he wants is to play instead of studying. I told him off, but he accused me of not understanding him. I was so angry, I blurted out that he was a lost cause, a hopeless case." Min nodded gently and responded, "I understand how you feel, Tam. But before you blame him further, could you tell me how you felt when you said those things?" Tam paused for a moment, then admitted, "At that moment, I was boiling over, but now I think I may have gone too far." Smiling, Min explained, "Words spoken in anger are like knife marks carved into wood. Once the wood is scarred, even if you sand it down, the marks remain. Do you think there might be a way to heal the wound in your nephew's heart?" Tam sighed and replied, "I don't know. The words have already been spoken. How can I take them back?" Thoughtfully, Min continued, "In life, each word is the product of a thought, even if it lasts only a moment. When we speak in anger, our words become like wildfire, quickly burning away trust and respect. Tomorrow, you could call your nephew, not to scold him, but to listen. Rather than telling him what you think, try to understand what he feels and why he reacted as he did." The next day, Tam met with his nephew, but this time he approached gently, giving him the chance to speak freely. Surprised, the nephew opened up, admitting that he felt pressured by high expectations and disliked being compared to others. Through this conversation, they began to understand each other better and resolved their misunderstandings. When Tam returned to see Min, the teacher simply said, "You see, in silence and listening, you were able to preserve your relationship and rebuild trust." Sometimes, a calm, gentle word is the bridge that brings harmony. In life, caution in speech and emotional restraint are essential skills everyone needs to learn. Our ancestors have long taught that trouble comes from the mouth, a simple saying carrying profound lessons on how to live, communicate, and build healthy relationships. Sometimes, words can be a bridge, but they can also be a sharp blade that inflicts wounds too deep to heal. The second story, The Power of Words. There was a boy named Nam who had a quick temper and frequently lashed out in anger. Each time he became upset, he would say harsh words that hurt his friends and those around him. One day, his father decided to teach Nam a lesson about the power of words. His father took Nam to the backyard, handed him a hammer and a bag of nails, and said, "Each time you feel angry or want to say something hurtful, instead of speaking, drive a nail into this wooden fence." On the first day, Nam hammered 37 nails into the fence. He soon realized that hammering nails into the fence was tough and exhausting. Gradually, the number of nails he hammered each day lessened, and after a few weeks, he learned to control his temper, no longer feeling the need to hammer nails whenever he got angry. Finally, Nam was able to manage his emotions and one day went to his father and said he hadn't needed to hammer a single nail into the fence that day. His father smiled and replied, "Well done. Now, for every day you stay calm, pull one nail out of the fence." Nam followed his father's instructions, and after some time, the fence was free of nails. His father then took him to the fence, pointed to the remaining nail holes, and said, "You've done well in learning to control yourself, but look at these holes. They will never disappear, just like the scars left in others' hearts by thoughtless words. Even if you apologize and make amends, the scars remain." Nam stood silently, looking at the holes in the fence, realizing the valuable lesson about the power of words. He understood that whether gentle or sharp, words leave a lasting impression on those who hear them. From that moment on, he resolved to be more self-controlled and thoughtful with every word he spoke. Words can be powerful tools to build or destroy relationships. A gentle, kind word can heal and bring joy, while a bitter, angry one can leave lasting wounds. By controlling ourselves and thinking carefully before we speak, we protect the hearts of others and our own. The third story, the power of silence. In a small village, there were two close friends named Hong and Min. Although they had been friends since childhood and understood each other well, their personalities were different. Hong was hot-tempered and quick to express his emotions, especially when angry, while Min was quiet and always thought carefully before speaking. They shared their joys and sorrows with each other, but occasionally they also had disagreements. One day, while playing a game of chess, Hong lost 3 consecutive rounds and became very frustrated. Unable to control his temper, he lashed out at Min, accusing him of only caring about winning and not being a true friend. Min listened in silence, simply looking at Hong without saying a word. Seeing that his friend didn't respond, Hong became even angrier and stormed off. The next day, Hong started to feel remorseful about his behavior. Reflecting on it, he realized he had unfairly blamed Min without any valid reason. He decided to visit Min to apologize. When he arrived, he found Min sitting under a tree, smiling at him as if nothing had happened. Hong approached, lowered his head, and said, "I'm sorry. I said things yesterday that I shouldn't have. Aren't you upset with me?" Min smiled and replied calmly, "Sometimes silence allows others to recognize their mistakes without the need for explanations or arguments. I understood that you were just angry in the moment. I chose to remain silent so you'd have time to reflect and realize what was right." From that day on, Hong learned a valuable lesson about the importance of silence. He realized that when emotions are flaring, silence is sometimes the best way to prevent further harm. Min's silence not only helped Hong recognize his own faults, but also deepened their friendship. Silence can sometimes be more powerful than any words. It allows us to control our emotions, avoid unnecessary hurtful words, and gives others time to reflect. Timely silence is a sign of empathy and respect, helping to preserve strong and genuine relationships. The fourth story, caution in speech. In a village, there was a hard-working and kind woman named Lan. One day, Lan heard her friend Mai lamenting her unhappy family life. Mai sadly shared that her husband had been coming home late often, was quiet, and didn't seem to care about the family as he used to. Wanting to comfort her friend, Lan immediately offered support. However, during the conversation, she made a casual remark, "Could it be that your husband has someone else?" This seemingly offhand comment sparked a series of thoughts in Mai. From that day on, she began to suspect her husband. Every time he came home late or seemed distant, she recalled Lan's words, becoming increasingly cold and detached. The relationship between Mai and her husband grew strained, with frequent arguments that eventually made reconciliation difficult. When Lan learned about the situation, she felt deep regret for not being more cautious with her words. She hadn't anticipated that her innocent remark would cause such harm to her friend's family. Lan tried to comfort Mai and helped her understand that she had rushed into negative assumptions. With patience and effort, Mai eventually softened, and she and her husband worked together to rebuild and restore their family. Lan's story is a reminder of the importance of caution in our speech. Words spoken casually can sometimes lead to unintended harm, affecting others and causing unforeseen consequences. Once spoken, words cannot be taken back. Therefore, before speaking, we should consider our words carefully, especially when discussing sensitive topics or things that may easily be misunderstood. The fifth story, avoiding exaggeration and boasting. Lin was an outstanding student in her class, consistently achieving high marks in every subject. Her friends and teachers recognized her intelligence, and Lin took pride in her abilities. However, over time, she began boasting about her achievements, frequently comparing herself to her peers and saying things like, "This assignment was easy, I finished it in just a few minutes." One day, Lin's class entered a science competition against other schools. Confident, Lin assumed she would easily take first place. However, during the competition, she encountered a challenging question she hadn't studied before. Panicked, she couldn't find the answer. Meanwhile, one of her classmates, high, quiet, and unassuming, answered the question correctly and won the prize. After the competition, Lin felt ashamed and disappointed. She realized that her boasting had made her arrogant and complacent, causing her to miss valuable opportunities to learn from others. Hai, though less visible, was humble, dedicating his time to study and self-improvement, which was the true key to success. From then on, Lin learned not to underestimate others and understood that humility is essential for personal growth. She decided to spend more time helping her classmates with their studies and listening to others' opinions instead of boasting. Gradually, Lin became someone her peers and teachers respected, not just for her achievements, but also for her humility and sincerity. The ancients taught, "The ripe rice plant bows its head, the deep river flows silently." This natural image offers a profound lesson in living and dealing with others. Many are easily drawn to the glamour of praise, leading them to exaggerate themselves. However, boasting only creates a temporary facade, which often makes others feel distant and lose trust. Truly talented people understand that one's worth lies in actions and results, not in flashy words. Boasting is essentially a way to create an illusion about oneself. While it may leave a fleeting impression, in the long run, showiness makes others doubt one's true value and sincerity. When someone focuses too much on speaking about themselves, they lose the opportunity for self-reflection and are less likely to recognize areas for improvement. In contrast, humble individuals work quietly, letting their achievements speak for themselves. They do not need to flaunt because they understand that true strength lies within, and confidence comes from inner values. Humility allows them to focus on self-improvement, steadily growing, earning genuine admiration and respect from others. The sixth story, be humble and listen. Once upon a time, in a small village, there was a young man named Ben. He was known for being intelligent, well-read, and knowledgeable. Proud of himself, Ben often boasted about his knowledge and all he knew. Whenever someone brought up a topic, he would immediately showcase his understanding, speaking at length about theories and achievements he had learned. One day, a renowned Zen master visited the village. The villagers invited him to stay and share his wisdom and advice. Ben was excited to meet the master, not to learn, but to display his own intelligence. As soon as he met the master, Ben began talking incessantly, sharing everything he knew, from philosophy and literature to advanced knowledge on various subjects. The Zen master listened calmly, without interrupting. When Ben finally paused, the master smiled and asked, "Would you like a cup of tea?" Ben nodded, and the master poured tea into his cup. The cup filled, but the master kept pouring, causing the tea to overflow and spill onto the table. Alarmed, Ben said, "Master, the cup is full, it can't hold any more." The master stopped pouring, smiled gently, and said, "Indeed. Your mind is like this cup, already full of thoughts and pride. If you don't learn to be humble, open your heart, and make room for new things, how can you learn anything more?" Hearing this, Ben realized he had become too proud, letting his arrogance obscure his ability to learn. He bowed and thanked the master, promising to remain humble and open to learning from those around him. Ben's story reminds us that when boasting and pride fill our minds, we easily limit ourselves. Truly talented individuals don't need to show off, as they know their worth will naturally be recognized through their actions and achievements. Keep an open mind and listen, for when our minds are open, the path to knowledge and growth becomes wider and more accessible. The seventh story, the value of honesty. Long owned a small fruit shop in the town market. Each day, he brought in fresh, quality fruits at affordable prices. Customers loved Long's shop because he always chose the best products and served everyone with sincerity. One day, Long received a batch of apples that looked beautiful, with smooth skins and bright colors. However, upon closer inspection, he noticed that some of the apples had started to spoil inside. He considered throwing them away, but this would result in a significant loss for the day, as he had invested a large sum in the shipment. Some friends advised him to sell the apples as usual, reasoning that no one would notice the difference since the damage wasn't visible on the outside. Long could just display them at the regular price, and customers would likely never know. After much thought, however, Long decided against this. He knew that selling subpar apples could damage the trust he had built with his customers. Instead, he put up a sign that read, "Apples with slight internal damage, 50% off," and clearly informed customers about the condition of the apples. Some customers were surprised by his honesty, as they had never encountered a vendor so open. However, many others appreciated his transparency and still purchased the discounted apples, praising Long for his integrity. Through this approach, Long strengthened the trust of his customers. Those who bought his apples returned and recommended his shop to friends. Long's shop became busier by the day, and his reputation spread throughout the town. Long realized that honesty not only helped him maintain the respect of his customers, but also brought more opportunities for his business. Long's story reminds us that honesty might result in short-term losses, but sincerity and transparency in business build trust and lead to lasting success. Honesty is a way to affirm our values and become someone others genuinely respect. The eighth story, humility and knowing your limits. In life, humility and understanding one's limits are invaluable qualities that help us live peacefully and fully. The ancients taught, knowing others is wisdom, knowing yourself is enlightenment. This is not only advice for success, but also for living realistically, recognizing our true abilities, and avoiding burdens beyond our capacity. Humility allows us to be confident and composed without needing to boast or prove ourselves, making life simpler and more serene. On a journey to teach, Confucius stopped at a small village. There, he saw a carpenter meticulously carving a wooden table, focused entirely on his work and paying no attention to the praise from onlookers. A villager enthusiastically suggested to the carpenter, "You're very skilled." Why don't you make more tables or take on bigger projects? You'd surely become famous and make a lot of money. The carpenter simply smiled and replied, "Thank you, but I know my limits. I do this work for the joy it brings, and I want to perfect each piece. Doing more would make me stressed and take away from the care I put into each detail. I'm content with doing what I can within my abilities and passion." Hearing this, Confucius turned to his students and said, "This craftsman is truly wise. He understands his limits and doesn't let greed cloud his judgment. It's this humility that enables him to focus and create quality work. Knowing what we need to do and not going beyond our abilities is key to a peaceful life. Rather than chasing grand ambitions or seeking to show off, sometimes the best thing is to know our limits and fulfill our responsibilities within our capabilities. Living with humility and resisting greed helps us maintain inner peace and build enduring, genuine value in life. The ancients also taught that self-improvement and learning are continuous journeys, where personal discipline and the habit of reading play essential roles. Discipline is like a quiet companion, consistently reminding us to take small, steady steps toward our goals. It may not be glamorous, but discipline lays a solid foundation for lasting success. According to the ancients, reading sharpens the mind and broadens one's horizons. Each book is a treasure of knowledge, offering valuable lessons and profound life experiences. Reading not only builds knowledge, but also nurtures the soul, helping us think deeply, empathize, and understand others. Those who love to learn create for themselves the resilience to overcome challenges and embrace life with an open heart. Instead of waiting for everything to be perfect before beginning, start courageously with small actions today. Little by little, with persistence and consistency, you'll see yourself transform, finding life to be deeper and more meaningful. Knowledge and discipline are the keys to unlocking success and inner freedom. The 9th story, Living Positively. Once upon a time, in a small village, there was a man named Hung who was known for his constant complaints. Every day, whether it was sunny or rainy, Hung would find something to gripe about. When it was sunny, he complained about the intense heat. When it rained, he lamented the dampness and mud. Even during a plentiful harvest, Hung worried that the following year might not be as fortunate. In the same village lived a man named Tam. Tam was very simple and maintained a calm and positive attitude. Unlike Hung, Tam viewed everything with optimism. On sunny days, he thought of the crops receiving abundant sunlight. On rainy days, he knew the plants would grow lush and green. When the harvest was plentiful, Tam gave thanks and prepared for the challenges ahead, confident that, no matter what, he would find a way to overcome them. One day, a prolonged storm hit the village. Trees were damaged, land was flooded, and everyone was worried. Hung complained day and night, blaming the heavens and cursing the weather for ruining the crops. People began to avoid him, not wanting to be dragged down by his negativity. Tam, on the other hand, faced the difficulties with calm and optimism. He started gathering any remaining seeds and planted them in small pots he could move around to avoid flooding. Seeing how Tam responded to the hardship, the villagers began to follow his example, working together to save what they could after the storm. When the rainy season ended, the village slowly recovered. The seeds Tam had planted in pots started to grow, and he shared his seedlings with everyone to help them restore their fields. The whole village felt grateful and admired Tam for his optimism and patience. Meanwhile, Hung couldn't accept the losses and continued to complain about the storm, growing more isolated as no one wanted to hear his grumbling. The story of Hung and Tam reminds us that instead of complaining, maintaining a positive outlook and seeking solutions through hardship brings peace and helps us move forward. Challenges may not disappear, but how we face them determines the strength and resilience in our lives. The 10th story, The Virtue of Diligence. Hoa was a young girl born and raised in a mountainous area where educational resources were scarce. Her family was very poor, with both parents working as farmers to make a living. However, from a young age, Hoa dreamed of becoming a teacher to bring knowledge to the children in her village. She knew that the only way to achieve this dream was to study hard and work diligently to overcome her difficult circumstances. Every morning, Hoa woke up at 4 a.m., helped her mother with household chores, and took care of her younger siblings, then walked over 5 kilometers to school. Regardless of the cold or rainy weather, she never missed a day of school. Each night, she studied by the dim light of a small oil lamp, making the most of the few notebooks she owned. Since she didn't have enough textbooks, Hoa borrowed them from friends and teachers, copying each lesson into an old notebook. Even when tending to the buffaloes or gathering firewood in the forest, she carried her books to read and memorize. Thanks to her diligence and determination, Hoa not only excelled in her exams, but also earned a scholarship to attend high school in the town. Living away from home and supporting herself, Hoa continued her efforts, balancing her studies with small jobs to cover her living expenses. Eventually, Hoa's hard work paid off. She passed the entrance exams to the teacher's college and became a teacher, fulfilling her dream. When Hoa returned to her village, everyone welcomed her with joy. She was not only a source of pride for her family, but also a symbol of resilience and diligence, inspiring the younger children in the village. Hoa not only realized her own dream, but also inspired and taught the children in her hometown, helping them understand that no matter how challenging life may be, with diligence and determination, one can overcome all obstacles to achieve their goals. The 11th story, Compassion. And was a young man living in the city, working for a large company and often busy. Every day, he left for work early in the morning and returned late at night, seemingly having no time for anything beyond his job. One evening, on his way home, and saw an elderly woman standing by the roadside, dressed in old, worn clothes, looking very tired and lonely. Surrounding her were a few small bags, likely all she owned. At first, and planned to pass by like everyone else. But when he glanced back and saw her anxious, sorrowful face, he couldn't just walk away. He decided to stop and ask about her situation. The elderly woman tearfully explained that she had come from the countryside to the city to find her son, who had promised to pick her up but was now unreachable. She had no place to stay and knew no one in the city. Feeling deeply moved, and realized that she needed help. Rather than leaving her on the roadside, and decided to take her to his home for the night. He prepared a simple meal and spent time chatting with her to make her feel warm and at ease. The next day, and helped her find a nearby charity center where she could stay temporarily and assisted her in contacting her relatives back home. In the days that followed, and continued to visit the elderly woman, bringing her essential items and offering encouragement during her difficult time. Gradually, with the support of the charity center and Anne's patience, she was able to reconnect with her son and safely return to her hometown. Anne's help wasn't just about providing a place to stay or a meal, it was a source of comfort and faith for the elderly woman in her darkest moment. Anne's compassion and genuine care changed her life, helping her regain hope and happiness. This story shows that compassion doesn't have to be expressed through grand gestures. Sometimes, small acts like listening, offering help, or standing by someone in a time of need can make a significant difference. Through compassion, we not only bring happiness to others, but also add meaning to our own lives. The 12th story, True Responsibility. Long ago, in a small village, there was an official named Lai Tsong, known for his integrity and dedication to the welfare of the people. The villagers respected him deeply for his compassion and strong sense of responsibility. Under Lightsong's authority was a tax collector named Tien, who was notorious for his greed and often abused his power to exploit the villagers, raising taxes beyond the legal amount to line his own pockets. The villagers were resentful, but they were too afraid of Tien to report him. Even when some people complained to Lightsong, Tien managed to hide his actions and threatened anyone who dared to reveal the truth. As a result, the villagers suffered greatly, with many falling into poverty and struggling to make ends meet. One day, the king heard about this situation and immediately sent investigators. Upon discovering that the villagers were being taxed heavily beyond the norm, the king demanded an explanation from Lycon. Lightsong was shocked to learn of the situation, as he had been unaware of Tien's actions. However, instead of blaming Tien or making excuses, Lightsong took full responsibility before the king. In the presence of the king and other officials, Lightsong knelt and said, "Your Majesty, I am the official overseeing this land. If the people suffer due to excessive taxes, it is my fault for failing to manage and supervise my subordinates properly. I accept full responsibility and ask that Your Majesty punish me according to the law." The king asked, "Do you understand that taking responsibility could lead to severe punishment?" Lightsong replied, "I am fully aware, Your Majesty. But since I did not supervise my subordinate closely, allowing him to act wrongly, this responsibility is mine. Please ease the tax burden on the people and punish me as is just." Hearing Lightsong's sincere words, the king realized that he was a man of virtue with a deep sense of responsibility. The king ordered a thorough investigation, uncovering Tien's deceitful behavior. Tien was punished accordingly, and the king reduced taxes for the villagers, helping them rebuild their lives. Thanks to Lightsong's strong sense of responsibility and honesty, he not only retained the respect of the villagers but also helped them overcome hardship. Although Tien had committed wrongdoing, Lightsong's willingness to accept responsibility and stand up for the people became an example of honesty and accountability for officials of that time. Thank you for taking the time to follow this content. If you found it helpful, please hit like, share, and subscribe to the channel so we can continue exploring these meaningful lessons together. See you in the next video, and may you stay steadfast and achieve all the goals you've dreamed of. Goodbye, and see you soon.